You read the title, so you know what it is. Fair warning, these are just my opinions, and everyone has their own thoughts on the matter. So tell me what you think below, and feel free to make your own list. Also, all of these maps are going to be rated as compared to each other, and not just is it good or bad. I think all of these were done really well, but some are just better than others. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, so it looks like we're starting off with Del Arna. Oh boy, I got to apologize to the devs and anyone from Sweden in advance here because I think you know where this is going. It's not that it's bad, it's just that compared to the others, it's not good. I know it might be more accurate to real life, but it's just too flat for me. Also, this being the fourth map unlocked in the game, overall it feels way too easy. The challenges just aren't difficult enough to justify its placement, and it's probably the easiest map overall. Don't believe me? The views speak for themselves. That being said, there are a few places that it shines, with some of my favorite tracks being Mikkel Template Loop and Orsa Animal Park. But overall, these are overshadowed by a bunch of annoying hitting gate challenges, and I'd say that Del Arna starts with a D for a reason. Next up, in stark contrast to that, is Paso Growla. Now, here's a mountain worth skiing on. It's big, intimidating, and filled to the brim with content. So much so that the devs stopped taking community suggestions for more challenges on it, and I can't say that I blame them. I love this mountain. There's so much to do here, and it really gives off an epic vibe, fitting of being the final map in the base game. From its dual peaks to the glacial cracks, the terrain here is really enjoyable. So much so that I find myself just free skiing around this mountain more than any other. And while I can't say that it has my favorite overall challenges, I will say that the vast majority of runs here are very solid, creative, and tricky, and that's what makes it so enjoyable. Easy S tier. Now let's move on to the buy two, get one free of mountains with Mount Fairview. Overall, I like this mountain. It does a lot right. The scenery is great, the layout is fun, and the challenges are memorable. And I think that's part of the reason it feels so small. It would have been really cool to see this setting at St. Louvette size or something like that, but instead it gets pretty overshadowed by the other two maps it's paired with in the expansion. Its similarly dim lighting and deep forest feel gave it a chance to be Wall Tall 2.0, but instead it's more like Wall Tall 1.5. I will point out that to me, the Silver Dragon is a solid example of a hidden gate challenge done right, and this map probably has some of my favorite course names overall, but that's just my North American skier bias showing. And did you really think that you could give me a Canadian map with only one moose and expect a good rating? Solid B. Next up is Hirschholm. I like this map. Its main purpose as a trial map is to give you a little taste of everything to entice you to buy the game, and it does a great job at that. The challenges are fun, yet simple, and there's plenty to explore in the small space that it provides. For what it's made for, I'd give this map an A, but compared to the premium maps, its small size and number of challenges, which are mostly very easy, really hold it back. Because of that, it gets a C. Now we're on to St. Louvette. There's a lot this mountain does right. It's large, has lots of beautiful colors, and many enjoyable challenges. Tricks de Ville will always be a classic, while things like Full Louvette keep things interesting. One thing that's odd to me though is there is a significant chunk of just empty space down at the front of the map and spanning most of the length of the right side. That does kind of bug me. And while I'm not exactly sure what could be worked into that, it does seem to be a lot for just one TTB challenge. Overall though, this is definitely a top tier map. Oh yeah, and one last thing that I forgot. It's French. Now let's talk about Ben Aleg, another one of the winter expansion maps. There's a lot to like here. The introduction of grass, mud, and water makes for some really fun and unique challenges that are hard not to love. Exploring this map for the first time was a really nice experience, and it's the perfect place to just get lost for a bit. My biggest issue is how steep the drop off the back is, making it really easy to cheat trick and dropping challenges, but overall, it's a small complaint. This one's an A for me. Next on the list is El Naca. What can I say here except for good things? This map is beautiful, definitely the prettiest in the collection in my opinion, but it also has some of my favorite challenges such as Shoulder Track, Boulder Hill Escape, and Around Clover Falls, although I am biased on the last one as I did help design it. My biggest complaint here up until recently would have been how much empty space was in the back, but the latest content update that was added really helped flesh out that space and make it super nice, so now I've got nothing. This one's S tier, and you can't convince me otherwise. Now let's talk about Wall Tall. Is it a trial map? Is it not a trial map? I'll let you figure that out. But what it definitely is a nice stepping stone up from Hirschholm for new players. I like the dark setting here and the forest feel it has. It's a cozy map with a good selection of tracks. Waldhorn Slopestyle and Selm Valley Race stand out the most to me. There's not much for me to complain about here, but I do feel that it suffers from a bad case of Trial Mountain syndrome the same way that Hirschholm does, and for that reason, it just can't compete. Ah, Rodcom. Rodcom is like that delicious new car smell you love so much until you go to lick it and immediately wish that you hadn't. This map looks super cool with the frozen rivers, dead trees, and beautiful village, but the challenges here are mostly just forgettable and definitely leave something to be desired. To give credit where credit is due, the roller coaster, sketchy bears, and rock jumper all try to take a creative approach to things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it works for me, and in this case, it usually doesn't. I wish it had an excuse, but there's not even Trial Mountain Syndrome here, so it's going to join IKEA down at the bottom. Last up is Pinecone Peaks, which is perfect because I just so happen to have one spot left in the B tier. Just kidding, please don't unsubscribe. But in all seriousness, there's no shortage of beauty in this game, and Pinecone Peaks is no exception. And as someone who does a fair amount of skiing in the US, I can say that this map does a solid job at matching its setting. It's also the largest map by far, with lots of fun and unique challenges from One Trick Pony to City Woods. There's pretty much something for everyone here, and while I did have some grievances in the past with this one, upon replaying it, those issues were far less notable to me, and I think I was probably still just salty about what happened to Precision Drops. This is a lot of good content added to the game, so much so that it could almost stand alone, whereas the winter expansion would surely feel incomplete without it. For that, it gets S tier. So that was my ranking of the maps in GMA. Let me know what your thoughts are below and check out the channel trailer. See ya!